Hello everybody, welcome to the stream. My name is Jose, I am a Golden in Kendo. Today we're gonna be watching some Kendo videos and talking about Kendo. And I can see maybe my camera is not properly aligned, so let me just fix it up real quick. So thank you for passing by everybody. If you have a second, please hit the like button, that way this stream gets pushed out to more people, and also I know that you're here. Let me know where you're watching from, just because I'm from Japan. I'm in Japan right now, so I have different time zones. I just want to try to figure out what's the best time, best days to stream. So let me know how this works out for you. For some people, maybe I think it's like Monday morning in US, and some other places might be Sunday night. No, yeah. Anyways, um, today's theme, or today's like focus on the video, I'm gonna talk about kotemen and also breaking into an opponent's center when you're having trouble getting in. This is coming from two comments that I got this week in some of my videos, and it's kind of been a recurring question. But if you have any other questions, if you have anything that you want to talk about, feel free to leave it down in the chat box and we'll discuss it. I'll be showing a couple of Shiai videos, and then a little bit of basics video that I picked up online, one of my favorite videos out there, but I'll do that. Sally Muse, sorry if I mispronounced your name, thank you for passing by. So if you would like to do so, we have a Discord server. I'm gonna put the link in the chat, and feel free to join it. It's completely free. You can pass by if you will need to message me, or if you like to meet more Kendo people. That's a great place to do so. And later on, I'll post. Today I posted a video on Tame, which I think actually connects to the topic that I'm going to be talking about today. So I'll be leaving that in the chat in a minute. Let me just find it real quick. So if you would like to catch that video a little bit later, that would be awesome. Okay. So how's everybody's training week? How's your Kendo this week? And if there's any troubles, any questions that you may have, make sure to leave it down in the chat. Let me see a link right here. Okay, and let me make sure I connect my computer. So that's the link I just put in the chat. Sally, I'm gonna call you Sally. If you have a better name, leave it in the chat. Just because I don't want to mispronounce. I don't know how to read your name, but yeah, let me know what's your question. And let me just make sure I plug my computer, because I'm gonna run out of battery. I forgot to do that. This week it was very interesting because I wanted to share this video on Tame, and there's a couple of videos that I've been wanting to make that are all connected. It has to do with footwork, seme, Tame, and approaching your opponent. So I kind of don't want to make a long video. I don't know if I can make a long video where it's gonna be very coherent. I think the longer my videos are, the more like all over the place they become. So I want to make sure that it's easy to understand. So that's why I only posted one that it's a little bit longer than my normal videos, but I hope you enjoy it. I would like to get your feedback if you could. So Sally, you said you've been training Fumikomi recently. You think you did something with your foot and it has been hurting. 2 weeks now. Okay. And your fellow Kanoka Sende will be better in several weeks, since there's a lot of little bones in the foot, so you overtrain it more times to recover. Wait. So if you overtrained it, needs more time. Okay. Can you do some exercise to make it better? So I'm not a doctor, by the way, so don't take this as medical advice. Number one will be always get some medical advice on that. But are you getting pain on your whole foot, or are you getting pain on the heel? And it's on your Fumikomi foot, right? Also, I guess an important point on that is that, are you flat-footed? Because sometimes people that are flat-footed, with the time that they do long practices and the Fumikomi and all that stuff, they tend to also get some pain. And if that's the case, like the approach to resolve those issues is a little bit different from each. So the whole foot hurts, and so does it hurt like the tendon underneath? That's it could be the tendon. And I was in a gashiku at some point, at training camp, and one thing that the doctor that was there was recommending for us to do was to one, get a water bottle, so you can roll your foot on that water bottle. So it's hard and also cold. It helps reduce inflammation. And again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just repeating what I got. So, and don't take this as medical advice either. Um, so the ice can help you reduce the pain. The other thing that he was saying as an exercise to do, is to put your foot like on top of a towel, or like maybe like a piece of cloth, like on the floor, and like just use only your toes to bring it, like to pick it up, to make it come closer. So that way, you start training the tendons and the little muscles under your foot, and that could help. But then again, if your pain comes from like bone and hitting the floor, that could also be the only way to fix that. Is like give it some rest, and make sure that you avoid landing wrong on that foot. But it's kind of tricky. And in kendo, it's funny because we want to keep practicing, so we tough out a lot of little pains and a lot of things like that. Um, but ideally, what you want to do is want to make sure that you are not in pain as you're doing your practice. So correct kendo shouldn't hurt. And take it from me, if you're hurting, you're doing something wrong. So for me, for example, like training for the World Championships, I was training in different floors. I was training a lot, and I was landing a lot poorly on my fumikomi, so I got a lot of bone pain on my heel. Um, so I was aware that was happening, and I fixed it after World Championship. But ideally, what you want to do is just not get to that point, right? Create good habits. Um, so yeah, if it's tendon, I mean the biggest thing. So by the way, greens from Polish Dojo Kendo Katowice. Nice. Thank you for passing by. Um, I haven't practiced in Poland, but I have a couple of Polish friends, so thank you for passing by. Love the support. Um, so yeah, fumikomi, pain in your joints, it's bad. Fatiguing your muscles can lead you to have other injuries, so you have to be careful with that. But you want to avoid having pain in your joints and your tendons. Common one is going to be tennis elbow. Wait, I cannot see my camera right now, so 1 second, guys. Okay, yeah. So a common one is going to be tennis elbows, and that's annoying and painful and lasts a long time. Um, what's another one? You want to make sure that you do stretching on your Achilles tendon, because obviously you don't want to hurt that one. And let me see. Any other injury that I'm kind of like a common injury that I'm thinking about, I can't think of. So, anyways, um, so tagging along with the theme of this week for me, because a lot of times the things that I do in my videos, I'm kind of also practicing myself, and that's one of the reasons why that's how I kind of come off with a lot of my videos, right? Something that I am picking up from senses that I've been told. I'm processing and analyzing it and implementing it, and as I implement them, I make a video and I try to continue and kind of give feedback, especially on the streams. And for me, it has been a very interesting couple of weeks, exploring different approaches to seme and tame, and I felt that tame was one of the easiest ones to kind of explain and kind of connect into everyday kendo, because a lot of times when we practice, we tend to kind of just go over the motions when it goes through basics, and then when we go to Jigeiko, then we want to have fun, but then we're not really connecting some pieces like tame and seme that we should be training from our Kihon into our Jigeiko. So a good mindset that I don't know where I heard this from, but a good mindset that I had for a long time is that even from your suburi shouldn't be warm up. Suburi is already you polishing your technique, you polishing your kendo, and yes, it can function as as a warm up, but that's a byproduct. There's more effective ways to warm up when it comes to that, if that's the reason. But Suburi should be to fine tune, turn your brain on into paying attention to these little details, and then go into a a very polished swing, so you can take off into like different other things that to add on. And Seme is no different. So Seme has many different levels of difficulty, and the first one is learning how to use your body, and Kihon offers a big opportunity to do so, and then you can pass that along into Jigeiko. So let's do something. Let's watch some Ippons, an Ippon compilation that I picked up. I'll put the video on the chat as well. But let's kind of watch a little bit of how Tame is used in competitions, and maybe what can we steal and what can we put into our kendo from these videos. Okay, so see, let me make sure that. Okay, so this video is from the Let's Kendo channel, and what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna share it, share the link in the chat. Sal, you said you're still new and you panic a bit. So panic how? That's actually a very cool way to put it, I guess, in the sense of you're maybe overwhelmed with all the things that are happening. But let me know what's happening, and maybe we can talk about it, because we all go through different things in different. Pretty much we go through the same things at different stages. Anyways, oh, you go back a little bit on that. This one is very easy to watch, right? To identify, and that's one of the things that I feel that it kind of pushes people away from kendo, like some people that are trying to understand it, and is that this can be very difficult to watch and to see who scored the point, right? So if you watch here, white on the left is putting pressure, closing the distance, and it's already in motion. And by the time that red decides to come forward, his body, it's already kind of, oh, I guess he kind of missed too, no? But I guess he had good impact. He had good impact maybe on the side. It's hard to see from the camera here. But one of the things that you want to practice when you use Seme and Tame is that although you're taking one solid step, you don't want to cut your momentum. So you want to have that feeling that your body wants to keep going. And I think White is doing that very well right now. So his kama is a little bit far, like the feet are a little bit a little bit separated. You watch. See, like, so they're a little bit separated because he's starting to close the distance. And then as we go forward, you see he tries to put a little bit more pressure. And as he does that, maybe he hesitates a little bit, but he's still getting ready to go forward. He hasn't lost that forward intention against his opponent. As he steps forward, he comes in, he re-engages the back foot. That left foot is very important, guys. And then as the opponent decides to make that motion forward, so if you watch here, you see red, it's already with the foot off the ground, right? And as he's starting to come forward, White is able to make a more compact motion because he's the one that kind of initiated the movement. The red attacked because White provoked it. So in that sense, it's a little bit easier for White to kind of anticipate where the opponent's going to be, and that makes it easier to score that point. So for example, you see red, and this is something that maybe we overlooked a lot when it comes to the Manamen, that red has to go further because he started the attack. So White started the pressure, Then red started the attack, yet white doesn't have to move that much. You see, it's pretty much on the spot that he does the Fumikomi because red is already coming in the distance. Where red has to move. You see, he has to come forward. So all those elements, when they come together, they give the advantage to the person that is moving first, not the person. And I know maybe this is gonna sound confusing, not the person that attacks first. I'll talk a little bit about that, but Sally, you're talking about what is seme, and this is one of those terms that maybe you don't need to worry about as a beginner, but I think it's important to start creating good habits towards seme. And seme, to put it simple, is just approaching your opponent and putting pressure on your opponent. So, and please don't overwhelm yourself with this. At this point, I don't know what point you are in Kendo, but at the beginning, early on, what you want to do is you want to create the habit of stepping in and attacking without hesitation. Now, one good thing that you're gonna see at early stages of Kendo, when some people in the early stages of Kendo, they start fighting against each other, and maybe one person is better than the other. If you start watching that person that's better, you're gonna see that they tend to be more proactive. They're coming in forward, they're coming in more, and they're, like taking more shots in a fight. This has an advantage early on, but as you progress, then and when you start fighting people that are higher level, you start becoming predictable, and then you start getting counters. So I think that this kind of starts creating doubt and making you now change your Kendo. So that's why I think that's one of the reasons why I think Japanese players are so good, is because they've been practicing it very little, and they're trained, you're taught to just go, right? They attack and go, attack and go. As a matter of fact, I went to a competition a few weeks ago, and the kids' fights, that's pretty much what it was. It's just turn around, men. And the ones that were getting the ippons were the ones that were moving first, the ones that were being more courageous, per se. So this is very good to create this habit, because then getting rid of the habit of stopping and hesitating is really hard. So once you get into that habit that you attack, you can start working on putting pressure, putting tame, and doing all these elements in order to change the timing and just create more opportunities. I could talk for hours about this, guys, but because it's a very complicated topic, yet I don't know how to say this. It's complicated but simple. So when you see senseis fighting, you see how they can implement it in such a smooth way. And when you're fighting one of the senseis, it almost feels like you're always behind, that you're always too late, you're too slow. Even though you might be physically stronger or faster than that person, you feel that you're playing catch up with them. And a lot of time, when you step back and you see what's happening, that's exactly what it is. Although they may not be the first one attacking, they're the first one moving. They're the first one creating pressure, making you do things like we just saw. Like this man right here, where the person in red has to go further. Therefore, it takes longer for him to execute the man. You see? They're both, even though you see red here starting the motion first, starting with the leg, throwing the leg further, throwing the leg forward first, you see that white catches up to the same angle of the sword, pretty much at the same time that red does, and then brings the sword quicker because he's already anticipating where he's going to be, so he doesn't have to go that far. In other words, let me just go back here. In other words, if you're stepping in, making your opponent have to come forward, as they're coming forward, you can start setting up your shot, and then you can hit them because they're coming to you, where they're going, so they have to travel farther. Hope that makes sense. Let me catch up with some of these comments. Yeah, ask me about these things, guys. Just maybe I can give better explanations. But let me see. Um, okay, Sally. So you said what is seme? I think I maybe can answer that. Sally, you're saying that you're training for a year, preparing for a third Q exam now. Good, nice, moving up. So one of the biggest things that you see in at the Q level when it comes to testing is that you want to have that confidence of coming in and attacking, having a good hit. So I wanted to do a section in the stream. I don't know how to implement different sections in the stream yet, so I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. But I kind of want to do a testing suggestion section or texting question, testing whatever. But one thing that I feel that at early on you want to practice, and if you haven't practiced this at whatever dan you might have, you have to practice this, is to make your strikes, whether they connect or don't, look the same. Your body should look the same. Where you stop your sword should be the same. Your kiai should be the same. Your follow through should be the same. This is something that me many times I struggle with, and I constantly practice this. But it makes such a impact, especially on the judges, to have the ability to you missed and you still composed. And this is going to become also in the ability of attacking again when you don't have when you didn't make an ippon on the first attack, and maybe the opponent gave you distance so you can do another technique. Hope that makes sense. Yeah, we can talk a lot about this. Okay, I can see a couple of questions here. I like this. Kuruma. Gonna call. I'm sorry, guys, if I kind of butcher some of your names. So I just try to stay with a shorter spar. Kuruma, you said you have to ask, where did I get this shirt? So I participated in the WKC, and one of the team members actually designed it. So yeah, Venezuelan team shirt. It's pretty cool shirt, right? Like it. And greetings from Canada, Ottawa. Thank you for passing by. I enjoy it. I hope I got to. I never practiced in Canada. I've been in Canada, kind of like at the border, one time for like one day, but that's about it. Jay, can I explain my in depth? You need help trying to understand more deeply. So, do you have any specific questions about my? Because we can talk ages about my as well. So, for those of you who don't know, I try to always go back into translating or kind of using an equivalent word in English. So, for those of you who are new or haven't got this word before, my means distance. And yeah, let's talk about it, especially because it relates a lot to what we're talking about today. And Steven, how would you test your opponents during Shiai when you don't know who they are, and how is their kendo style? Oh, very, very cool question. Very cool question. Let me see. Oh, I didn't prepare, guys. Okay, I didn't prepare this video. I have a video from Shiai that I did last week, 2 weeks ago, and I didn't prepare my computer to play here in the stream, so maybe I'll do it for next week. But so it's very interesting. I'm gonna answer that question first, while Jay, you tell me a little bit more specific my questions or something maybe that you're struggling with, or what's, because I can talk for ages about my. If you don't have, maybe I'll go back to it and I'll make up my own. But if you could, that would be awesome. But talking about how do you test your opponent, and it goes, I think, the same way for Jigeiko, Shiai, and Shinsa, right? One of the things that you want to do is that you don't want to be in the habit of going backwards. You always want to go forward, right? But it's not about just stepping in. And I'm gonna try to quote one of the senses that I enjoy practicing with here, but my Japanese is not that good, so a lot of these words might not be correct, right? Like I'm trying to translate, so I'm not fully. But when it comes to testing your opponent, you want to, and actually this relates directly to Maya as well, but we're gonna go deeper into that in a little bit. But when you start Shiai, you start pretty much at this distance, right? Like you start separated from your opponent. The ideal thing that you want to do is that you want to step in and start getting into this distance right here, where you're barely touching the Shinai, and this way you can start figuring out what type of opponent you have, because by doing this alone, you might get a reaction already. And there are three basic reactions. Whether they don't do anything, that's a reaction. They go back or they go forward, right? So you start figuring out what type of opponent you have just by the first step that you take in. From here on, one of the goals that I'm being pushed to train right now, and mainly because I want to, because I'm preparing myself for testing for Rokudan, is that my goal is to come to this distance where I can attack at one step, right? Like Isokito no Mae. But making it to that distance is not enough for you to come in. And actually, this has to do with one of the points that I was talking about that I wanted to tackle in this stream, is to give some ideas on how to come into an opponent that they just keep the center. They either receive you with a Tsuki, they just always kind of like stop you from coming in. So, as I say, coming in here is not the only goal. The goal is to come in here and get the center, get the sword away from the center. That way you have an opportunity to come in. When it comes to testing the opponent, there's a couple of things you can do to make it feel... okay. This is another level of complexity. So, guys, please ask your senseis more about these topics, but because I don't want to confuse anybody, and maybe your sensei is training things in a little bit different way. But one thing that you can do to start testing your opponent is playing with this distance with the Shinai, but not necessarily playing it with your body. So what I mean by that, let me just make sure that I can see my camera properly and get this Shinai over here. So I don't have a good angle here. Maybe I can just move this a little bit here. Okay, so maybe I can do it here. So from here, I don't know if you can hear me, but from here, moving the Shinai forward slightly, you want to avoid playing with this right here, because extending your hands put you in a weak position. But it's something you can do to start figuring out your opponent, right? You don't necessarily have to come closer, but you can start testing the waters there per se. Now, the other thing is that you can start moving forward, but not necessarily moving forward with your back foot. You want to start closing the distance, and you can also get another reaction there, right? That first step, you can take the first step with both feet to start closing the distance, but you don't want to make it immediately to that distance where you can attack. You can start testing by just taking one little step, or you can take one little step, then half a step with the right foot, doing all these different things to be at a farther distance to start examining the opponent. Yet, you always want to have that intention forward. The intention shouldn't be that and this one I was talking about, you want to have like a forward intention always. You want to get in the habit of coming and attack. You don't want to come in with the intention that you're gonna do this and come back. It's like you're not fainting, right? You're kind of always closing the distance, always closing the distance, always closing the distance. And it's kind of like having a rubber band. I'm gonna move the camera a little bit here. Okay. It's kind of having like a rubber band that I'm tensing up, that you know that the farther away or the more I stretch the rubber band, the more chances I'm getting ready to shoot it, right? Like, you know I'm gonna shoot it. That's okay. That might be a cool analogy. You have a rubber band that, okay, I have a rubber band that you know I'm gonna shoot it at you, right? So the more I stretch it, you know it's gonna be the more chances that rubber band is coming to you, right? So you kind of want to give this feeling to your opponent, because then it happens like what we just saw in that ippon right here, right? Where if we watch this, hold on, let me go. Guys, if you haven't, please take a second, hit that like button. Really helps the stream. And if you haven't, of course, subscribe, please. Okay, so it's kind of what happens here. You see, like, he comes in. You see, he comes in. He's only coming in with the right foot. He's not coming in with both feet. He's testing the waters. Then he gets no reaction. So what does he do? He stretches the rubber band a little bit more. So he didn't get a reaction. The opponent kind of went back. So the opponent going back is kind of like reducing that tension. So he decides to chase him up. And not only he chases him up, but he also gets closer to his opponent, making him feel, okay, that rubber band's already tense. I have to do something. And he went in. But because White was prepared, because he got engaged with the back foot, he throws the body in at the right moment, and he's able to get that ippon. Does that make sense? So pretty much what you want to do is you want to always be close in the distance, and you want to have a forward intention towards your opponent. And one thing that's going to help with that, of course, is going to be Tame. And I just happened to make a video about Tame this week, today. I posted it today, so I'm going to put it in the chat. If you guys could pass by, watch it at some point, and leave me a comment. It will really help. Okay, so I didn't get any clarifications, Jay, on my eye, but let me talk a little bit about my as well. I'm going to stay away because we have different ranks and different levels of Kendo. I'm going to try to speak only with English words, but if you have any specific question about any term or anything like that, we can talk about it. You can please ask. Okay. Now, when we're taught about distance, we're taught about distance in a very black and white way, right? You have Toma, which is the distance where you're too far to strike. You have Isokuito no Mae, which is your distance where you're supposed to be able to strike at one step. And then you have Chika no Mae, which is the distance where you're too close, right? This is a very broad and general way of explaining it, but let's start from there. So for me, distance is not black and white, and a lot of these distances, they overlap, right? So one goes into the other. And for example, although that you cannot attack from one step here, the distance can quickly shift where your opponent comes in very fast, very deep, and you can by one step reach them. So the reason why I'm saying that is not because I'm saying, oh, you should attack from that distance. It's because you should always be ready to attack once you draw your swords. Once your shinais are out, you should treat it as if at any point you can get attacked, at any point you could attack. So from this distance, you want to, the first thing you want to do, as I said before, is that you want to come in into a distance where you can start applying pressure to your opponent, right? If you come in from a far away distance into the one step distance, and your opponent didn't do anything at that point when you came in, then putting pressure to your opponent can become sloppy, and it can bring you into that distance where you're too close. And when you're too close, it's very easy to either be deflected, not necessarily countered, but it's very easy to kind of mess your chances of hitting a technique, because pretty much any little motion can affect your can block. At the same time, any little motion can score too, so it's a very dangerous position to be, especially if there was no pressure built at the point of getting there. But as you stepping in forward, you want to use that distance to create pressure. If you make it to this distance, it tends to be a sloppy situation. You want to avoid coming to this distance, especially for shinsa. And your play distance is that moment since the tips of the shinai start touching until your isokuito no mae. Now, at reaching your isokuito no mae, or at reaching that one step distance, you want to have built pressure and make the opponent do something, whether it is opening or attacking or retreating. Something needs to happen so that way when you're at that one step distance, you can take action. Of course, this is like the textbook most pretty explanation, that the ideal world not always happens that way, but this is kind of the goal that we're trying to build up here. Does that make sense? Yeah, you're saying that all you know right now is that the distance it is the distance. Is there like another aspect of it to like mentally or something like that? Does it make sense? No, I'm not. I'm not quite getting it. But what do you mean? Ideally, what you want to do is you want to start building that pressure, building, communicating with your opponent, so that way, as you step in, then you're gonna get a reaction. I think I said this in a couple streams already, but I'm gonna say it again. Most basic reactions with the body are going to be stepping forward, staying in the same place, or going back. When it comes with the shinai, depending on the reaction you get, is depending the opening that you get. So, and as a matter of fact, if you're motodachi, you should, when you practice motodachi, you should get to learn this. But getting the shinai off center, that opens up the men. If the shinai comes up, that opens up the kote. If the shinai comes down, that's supposed to be opening the tsuki, but it's a little bit tricky, it's a little bit dangerous, but that's the opening for the tsuki. And of course, if the hands go up, then do becomes the target. So you don't do a technique without that opening, and going into tame and going into seme, you don't want to go and engage in your technique when the opening is there. You have to anticipate it. So if you try to attack when the opening is already there, most likely you're gonna be late. So you also gotta keep that in consideration. Take that in consideration. Can you ask how you can improve your tenouchi? Of course, you can ask anything. Whether I have the answer or not, that's another thing. But yes. Where's my other? Hold on, let me get another shine. Okay, guys. Tenouchi. I'm gonna use it with the shinai just because I have little space here. Let me just make sure I can see my camera. Okay, so tenouchi refers to. I have a couple of videos on tenouchi too, so maybe also watch those. But so tenouchi refers to two things, right? Like the word tenouchi, the grip of the sword, how you hold your sword, and also how your hands and your wrist help you improve the impact of your shinai. So I'm gonna assume that you want to improve your impact, and the one thing is that a lot of times sensei says tenouchi, 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 but not necessarily tenouchi is the problem. A lot of times the problem can also be the other things that we're doing that is stopping the energy to come into the sword. So number one thing, that every time that I bring somebody from outside of Japan to a specific dojo, every time the the point out, like the point that they point out, is this one. So a lot of times we're taught that, you know, we have to do tenochi and we have to squeeze the hands and we have to do this type of motion, right? And this is not correct the way I'm being taught. And the problem with this is that when you do that, when you do this motion, as you stretched out, you end up putting the shoulder in this position here and sticking out the elbows, right? Once you do that, you stop the tip of the sword from moving because you're bringing the sword down like this. The goal is to make the tip move, not bring the sword down like this. So this is going to take away your impact and definitely your control. So the one thing you want to do is you want to have open shoulders, and at the moment of strike specifically, at all times, but specifically at the moment of strike, you want to have your elbows pointing down, and you want to make sure that you only put pressure on your fingers, on your wrist, briefly at the end, therefore making the tip of your shinai move, right? Like this. I'm not doing this, right? It's, you want to put the pressure on your fingers briefly and make sure that you don't leave that pressure after the strike. What other? Let me try to remember some of the other. Okay. One thing that you also want to do. So, for example, I have this chair here, and it has a cushion on it. So a lot of times I like to practice, you know, like that impact. That's sorry, it's kind of hard to see it here. Sorry, I don't have too much space here to play with, guys. So my bad. But getting used to moving the tip. Okay, maybe this is a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna just put this on my desk so it's a little bit easier to demonstrate here. But what you want to do is you want to move the tip of the sword, not bring the sword down, right? So one thing that you can do at home, having some cushion or something and hitting it with just your fingers, right? Sorry, making a mess here, but so I hope this makes sense. You want to move the tip from here, just do that, where you're using your fingers to bring the tip down. You're using the fingers to bring the tip down. Not, I'm not doing this. Okay? Another thing that you want to be careful with is that the main point is, especially on the right hand, it happens a lot, that people close these fingers, put pressure with these fingers. And I want you to try this. If you close these fingers, the first thing that happens is that the wrist kind of moves up, right? But if you see when you strike with your shinai, the wrist should go down, right? So if you do this, you're closing these fingers up here, you're actually working against yourself, right? Because you're doing this, but the tip is going up. So you want to bring the sword on the trajectory, on the path that it needs to go, and then at the end, the fingers, the bottom fingers help the tip move forward. Sorry guys, I'm gonna plan a better setup for next stream, so that way we can, I can show you things better, because I have no space here. But the idea is that you want to practice this. So it's just with your, by the way, I'm exaggerating with these fingers here. I'm opening up the fingers, so you don't have to do it like that. Also, the shinai is very thin, so ideally you want to just practice this, get a good impact with this, and of course once you get that together, you want to also do it with the body. So again, it doesn't have to be hard with the hands, because your body is going to put extra power on it. That makes sense? And guys, if you would like, so I know I've been saying this for a couple of streams, but I'm going to put together content specifically for members of the channel. So if you would like to become a member, Feel free to check out the perks and the links that I'm putting up there. So I'm doing specific things where I'm gonna share videos, more personal videos, and then if you have any feedback, anything that you would like me to go over, I'm also doing that for all the channel members at this point, right now. So feel free to check out the perks and let me know if you have any questions. So Kuruma, you're saying you're grading for third dan in November. Feedback from Sensei after recent mock Shinsa. Show more Seme and Rensoku Wasa. You were thinking as this is more 4 dan criteria, so now you have 6 weeks to really work on Seme and Tame. So thanks for the recent video. So it's interesting because every country has a little bit of a different criteria on what is tested. But for what I am told, is that Seme and Tame together is not really tested onto like Rokudan, right? That doesn't mean that you don't have to show Seme. Okay, let me rephrase that a little bit. I'm trying to figure out, trying to remember the exact words I was told. But okay, for Rokudan, that pause between the approach and the attack, it's extremely necessary. Like, you will not pass without that extra communication. But the fact of stepping in, showing self-control and attacking, that is tested before Rokudan, right? And of course, as I said, many different places may have a little bit of a different criteria on how they test this. So I'm gonna be as general as possible. A lot of times when sensei say, and I'm not saying that this is your case, I'm just trying to be general, that you're missing, that you need more Seme, is that maybe you're attacking at random. You're not really, what's it called? So many times people fall into that rhythm that if the person gets agitated, then they just start going, right? So there's no Seme. You're just stepping in and going, stepping in and going, stepping in and going, right? But on the other hand, if you feel that the person is overpowering you, then also maybe you can become a little bit too passive, where you're just not stepping in, or maybe you take that first step, but you kind of wait too much. Then that's the opposite spectrum, and that's still not Seme. So what you want to do is just to want to have that opening be made with purpose. You are the one making the opening by the approach that you give, by the pressure you give. Does that make sense? So I don't think that your sensei is asking you to do something that you don't know, but maybe he's asking you to modify how you're approaching your opponent and how you're approaching your Jigeiko. Because, well, first of all, like if he was asking you to change completely, I think he will probably tell you maybe you want to wait for testing because you're not ready. But I don't think that that's what he's saying at all. So one thing that you want to make sure is to work on that feeling of what can I do to improve my chances that the time when I come in, I'm going to have more opportunities for Ippon. Does that make sense? I feel like I started rambling and then maybe I kind of went on a tangent. But good control on stepping in is crucial for this. So I think for all levels of Kendo. So you definitely want to work on that. Okay. Guys, if you haven't, please hit that like button. Really helps the channel. And if you haven't, of course, subscribe. Sorry guys, I only have one monitor, so it takes me a second to see when chance goes. Let's watch a couple more equals and see what can we pick up from that. So you see this ippon right here, I feel like it was a reaction more than that communication that we saw in the previous one, right? So watch. So red steps in. After he steps in, he tries to play around with that center and immediately engages into a technique, right? So I feel, I'm not saying that this was happening, but I feel that kind of red kind of already came with the idea that he was going to go. And then as he does that, maybe he already had a pattern preset in his head and he decides to kind of go for that kote. And, I think he had a good entry. And the opponent came in for that man, but although he kind of had that mindset preset, I don't think that he saw it. How do I say this? Even though he had good contact, he didn't get the ippon, right? Okay, so white got that ippon there, and again, what made it seem like the problem here is that he came in with a predetermined pattern, and white was already kind of engaged into going forward. So he had that, it was a reaction. So none of them had that communication, if you know what I mean. Maybe white had more endurance in like mental endurance, and he was able to kind of take opportunity of that moment he was coming in. He was prepared to come in, but I don't think any of them had that communication that the previous one had. So in essence, there was an approximation, right? There was seme per se, but there wasn't really tame. And this is kind of like the difference between what I was mentioning before between Godan and below and Rokudan and above, right? That communication there, that stop and that communication has to be there for your testing. Needless to say, I think that both of this approach right here, this coming here, Sandan, Yondan, maybe even Godan could pass with an exchange like this. From the white side. From the white side, maybe up to Golden, right? And from the red side, maybe up to Sandan. With this alone, just with that approach. Needless to say, because their body posture, because of their sharpness in the strikes, because their balance, ki, follow through, and all this stuff, that pumps them up a level. So a lot of times for testing, maybe we focus in one thing, but there are other elements that are gonna help you make that grade. And all those elements are taken into consideration when you're testing. It's not just like, oh, you just need that, but then you forget about everything else. Hope that makes sense. So Kuruma, you say that makes a lot of sense. Your other feedback is try not to constantly hit. Take time to set something up. Yeah, that's exactly what I want to get at. That you want to set things up. So when you see Q testing, you see constant attacking. But as you start going up, you definitely want to start picking your spots. If you guys haven't checked it out, in the Discord server, there's a testing guide all the way up to Golden. So I'm gonna put the link to the Discord server. Feel free to pass by and check it out. In the resources tab, there's a guide on different elements needed for each rank. It's a translation of a testing guide. So feel free to check it out and get some pointers from there too. Yeah. Cypress, you saying you sprained your ankle. Thank you for passing by the way. Thank you for being here. So you don't think you will Keiko anytime soon, but you did make sure you can do regular Suburi. But what should you do? Be focusing on? What should you be focusing on Suburi to make it quality practice? Quality practice for Suburi. Okay. Well, first of all, one thing that I can tell you is that watch Kendo. So I don't know how your dojo is. I don't know the level that your dojo has. Um, but going to the dojo even just to watch, and you know, you can, as you recover, maybe you would start helping out with beginners or stuff like that. All these things help you keep your brain going when it comes to your progress. Also, imagery helps a lot too, right? So seeing yourself doing suburi, not as just swinging, but working on specific elements, especially if you work specific elements at a time, that's also a great tool to use. You can also work on specific aspects that don't necessarily go all the way to suburi. Like for example, you can work on doing little steps, engagement of the legs, moving your body side to side. Sorry, you have a problem with your foot, so maybe that's not such a good drill. So my bad. Other things you can do is to work on shinai control, right? Like having the proper grip, and then having proper angles of hitting. Experimenting with different angles, hitting at different angles as well, moving your shinai in circles, shinais in different angles. Like knocking shinai out. I remember when I was in college, I used to have in my closet, I could put one shinai sticking out, and I could just slap it around, press it down, do maki and stuff like that. So there's different things you can do to start kind of getting you in the move. But the main one is keep watching Kendo and keep looking for that image of the Kendo you want in other videos. I would suggest on top of that, and I normally watch Shiai videos in the stream, right? But watching actual practices, I think is much more productive when it comes to improving your Kendo than Shiai. Shiai can get you ideas on how to score Ippon, right? But I think watching regular Jigeiko can also help you improve your Kendo overall. Hope that makes sense. Sorry, was there another question? Danielle, thank you for passing by. Greens from Canada. Oh, second Canadian person here. Thank you for passing by. You have a question about Shiai and how to be economical with them. Economical? Shinai. Sorry, I thought you said Shiai. I have some Shinai at home where one of the slats is broken, but the rest of the slats is still usable. How do you combine them of the leftover slats? So, if you buy your Shinais, a quick Kendo tip on if you don't know this, but if you buy your Shinais in bulk, or like not in bulk, but like more than one, many times the provider will match up the Shinais, so the nuts of the Shinai match up with each other. So what you're looking for is that the nuts of the Shinai kind of, you see, like there's a nut here, and it's supposed to be, in a regular Shinai there's another nut here, right? So the main thing that you want to do is try to match the nuts as much as possible. I haven't matched Shinais lately being in Japan, because all the Shinais that I think I brought only one Shinai and I broke that all already. And as I buy Shinais here, I haven't broke enough Shinais to make a new Shinai. But what you want to do is want to match up mainly these two, right? After that, if you can match the third one, like it's perfect. And it doesn't have to be exact, but what you want them to do is you want to have kind of like I'm not gonna call it a tight seal, but you want to have it, where like it matches up well enough to have this type of closeness. Also, you want the handle to be, if the handle is round, to be fully round and it fits perfectly. So a lot of times what you can do is you can shave a lot of the inside of the Shinai to make it fit better. Does that make sense? If you live in a dry area, putting your Shinais in a humid place helps a lot. I was living in Florida, now I'm living in Japan. It's pretty humid here, so I don't have to worry too much about breaking Shinais often, so I don't have to oil them. And I don't like oiling Shinais as well. But if you live in a dry place, putting them in like place like in the bathroom where like the shower is, helps a lot with longevity. It might look weird as a decoration in your house, but it especially I do this when I go to like a dry area, like if I travel, I put my Shinais in the bathroom, because I can break, like in California, for example, I go California and then I can break 2 shinais in a week easily. But in Florida, it could last me like 3 months. So, hope it makes sense. So Danielle, so like, okay, so this is the problem that I'm having right now because I came to Japan. I wanted to try different shinais. I don't have shinais that I broken that fit with each other. That's what I meant, that I haven't had enough broken shinais. So if you're not going to get any shinais like that again, maybe you want to discard them. Or what you can do is, ask your people at the dojo and see if you guys like. I used to do with friends, like getting together and like everybody put their pieces together, and just trade pieces that they fit. So it works. So it's a good, it's a good way to just have fun and just like repair shinais and learn more about kendo. Daniel, if you're finding you're breaking shinais a lot, make sure you're not hitting too hard and oil them regularly and keep away from extreme temperatures. Okay, that helps a lot too. As I said, I don't like oiling shinais. I'm not saying I'm not against them. And as a matter of fact, here in Japan, okay, somewhere over there, it's in a box. But here in Japan, they sell a wax too that you can just like put on the shinais after you shave them. That and some people put soap there, like hard soap. But that does help a lot to extend the life of a shinai. The other thing is that you want to check your shinai. So, for example, like you see this shinai, I have barely used this shinai, and the shinai has a little bit of blue and like rash. Like you have a little bit of blue here, a little bit of blue here. So you're looking for blue, right? If your shinai has like dents, like it's like an indentation, that also means that you're hitting mengane, right? So if it has like lines, or if I have like paint, or like maybe like metal looking paint or rashes on the shinai, that means that you're hitting mengane a lot, which is another reason that shinais break a lot. Whether you're hitting hard or not, if you're hitting something hard, you're gonna break it. Ideally, the way I was told that shinai should break is that they should start splintering from the back of the shinai until the point that they break, and the ones that they should break are the two side pieces. This is the perfect way for a shinai to break. The reason for that is because when you hit, I cannot bend the shinai, I guess, but when you hit, the shinai kind of does this bend, right? So when it bends, the thing that breaks is not because of the stretching, but because of the compression in the top, and that's how it starts splintering until the point they break, and blah 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 blah. So that makes sense. Kurumi said you like using graphite lubricant from automobile stores as your shinai oil. Learning from senpai years ago. Cool. I cannot be the person recommending oil because I just don't use them, so I'm sorry. So I'll say listen more to Kuruma, that you'll see listen to me. And Kuruma, you live in a dry area? Because again, I think that affects a lot. Okay, guys. I feel like I've been answering a lot of questions. So let's watch a couple more Ippon. Okay, actually, instead of watching Ippon, guys, we watch a couple now, but what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna have a quick little Kotemen talk real quick. I saw a message in one of my video about talking about Kotemen and how Kotemen can be a little bit tricky or confusing, because especially when you watch videos of Kihon, when you watch videos of Shiai, this Kotemen might look very different. So I'm gonna put the video on the chat. Guys, this is one of my favorite videos when it comes to Kihon. This is from Teramoto Sensei. Let me just make sure everything's okay. Okay. This looks a little bit low. Let me just bring it up a little bit. Oh, can I bring it up a little bit? Okay. Yeah. Oh, guys. I hope you guys could see before the feet of the players, because I was talking about that and I guess it didn't show there. Okay. So, guys, watch this kote man. Show one more time. They're gonna do different angle. Okay, we go back to the basic one. So what they're doing here for this specific practice is that the motodachi is blocking the kote and then receiving the men, right? This is a drill that you can practice, and the way that they're doing it is that the motodachi is stepping backwards, so the timing is a little bit different. When you practice basic kote men, at the beginning, senseis normally tell the motodachi to go back, take one step back, right? Almost like this one, right? Where like hit the kote and then on a separate step comes for the man. Nothing wrong with this. Very basic, and it has specific applicable situations during Jigeiko. Most times, kote men during Jigeiko is actually not like this. You don't have that much distance to do the men after the kote. And a much more frequent use of kote men, in my opinion or in my experience, is when you do like I kote men, where the person is coming for kote and you do kote and men very quickly. So when you do I kote men, for example, normally the kote and the men are pretty much done on the same spot. Like your fumikomi is gonna happen pretty much in the same spot because the distance is just that much shorter, especially if the opponent is coming in. So a quick kendo tip training for kote men is practice different styles of kote men, right? So the rhythm should always be the same. Pop, pop, right? Except for this kote men that Teramoto Sensei is practicing, because they're doing that blocking thing, and it kind of functions as a hit to block and then find the opening to go for the man, right? So it's a little bit of a different purpose for that drill. But normally when you're doing kote men practice, the number one thing that I always like to focus on is that rhythm. It's not pop, pop, it's pop, 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 pop. And then what you want to do is what you want to do is you want to train different distances and different styles. So it could be kote men with 2 steps. It could be kote men with what I'm gonna say 2 fumikomi, but the back leg pretty much on the same spot, right? Like you push forward and you pop up, or you can do a short kote or a regular kote and a very short man. Different distances. Play around with the distances because it really helps you not only learn to be adaptable, but also trains you to possible situations that you might face during Shiai, Jigeiko, Shinzai, etc. So that's kind of the big pointer I wanted to kind of talk about when it comes to kote men. This week, what I'm gonna try to do is I'm gonna try to find more kote men, different styles of kote men on different, like whether Shiai or practice and so on, and we can break them down a little bit further on the next stream. Lemmy, welcome to a stream. Thank you for passing by. Hello. Do I know Chambara? I never practiced it, but I know. That's cool. I never done it, but I've seen it. It'll be kind of interesting to see how different martial arts kind of like relate to each other when it comes to this, and like how the techniques are what's it called, related. So it'll be interesting. But I cannot say that I'm familiar with different elements of how you practice. So it'll be kind of interesting to explore that a little bit more. Maybe I'll research that this week. That'll be awesome. But guys, I think I'm gonna. If you have any questions, let me know down in the chat because I'm gonna start heading out. I really appreciate everybody being here. What I'm gonna say, please, if you haven't, go check out my latest video on Tame. I think I would like your feedback. I would like to know what your thoughts are. If you have any suggestions for my next one, gonna put the video on the chat. Is right there. Um, because I'm working on improving these videos, and I also want to share different aspects of my training here in Japan. If there's anything that you would like to see from my training in Japan, let me know, and or Japan in general, that'll be awesome too. I'm just need to find a way to put all this content into a, you know, coherent presentation. That's been my biggest problem. Um, so let me know if anything I can help you guys with. If you would like to pass by the Discord server, again, the server is completely free, and you can meet more Kendo people, or you want to send me a message. It's a good way to communicate with me. Chat is on the link is in the chat, and if you'd like to become a member and get some extra perks, some extra streams, and more specific care for different issues that you may have, conversations, stuff like that, please consider becoming a member. Pass by the link and check out the different options you have and different perks you might get. But for all of them right now, what I'm doing is that if you have videos that you want me to review, you can send them to me, and I'll give you some of my thoughts on that. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Let me see if there's anything. I didn't think. You're welcome. You know, any questions? That's what we're here for. That's what this is here for. Cypress, thank you for watching the video. I appreciate it. Phoebe, okay. So, Phoebe, I'm trying to make the streams. I'm trying to figure out the best timing for me to do this. So maybe I'm like going around a little bit of time, like to an hour or two. Switching between Sundays and Mondays and Saturdays, depending on how my availability is. But normally, I'm gonna try to figure out this time, because I figure most people around the world can catch the stream at this time. But hopefully, I can extend them and make them a little bit longer as well. So I'm sorry you're late for today, but pass by the next one. That would be awesome. Kuruma, okay. Before I go, I'm gonna tell you, did I ever get kote from Seisho? I did. Let me see. Got a mess here, but I got one only right now. I mean, the other one's up there, but I got this kote. I love this ones. So he made me a kote with extra padding, because he wanted to show me how the padding was on these, on the extra padded. I wanted to have the brown kote, so he made this specifically because of that. So I appreciate that very much. They're great kote, man. Like the palm, everything just amazing for these kotes for me. What can I say? The flexibility is very good. I normally don't like to use them for like shiai and stuff like that, but definitely they're flexible enough that I would use them for shiai. And the reason why I wouldn't use them for shiai is because I was told, and this, I don't know if this is true or not, but I was told that when you have the lighter kotes, it's a little bit easier for like without looking to target the kote. So that's why I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't use them for shiai. But for everything else, I think they're cool, and I use them for pretty much everything else. And I love this kote. So much that these are one of the ones that I don't leave at the dojo. I bring them with me when I go to practice. So, yeah, love them. Yeah, it sucks that, like, he retired, but, it's... I have faith. He'll find a better way, a more sustainable way to make it, and maybe he'll come back to doing kote. And yes, I treasure them. You have Made in Japan tag inside. I don't have the Made in Japan because he wasn't here in Japan when he made him. He made him in Canada. So, yeah, I don't think, no tag inside. Anyways, guys, thank you very much for passing by. I will appreciate if you leave me your comments, your thoughts, whether it's here, Discord server, and I just want to make sure that I am providing a lot of the things that you need and you want me to bring up here. You guys keep me motivated to keep studying all these things and to keep figuring out new ways to kind of simplify it, not only for you, but I also use it for myself. But I really appreciate you guys being here and the support that I get on my videos and the channel and stuff. So please, if you could, share these videos, share this channel, share the streams. Let's bring more people in here. I think that's always fun when a lot of people ask questions, have different points of view. So I appreciate anybody that passes by. Anyways, thank you very much for passing by. I'll say that anything I can help you with, send me a message, okay? Thank you guys. Have a good rest of your week and hope you get some good training this week. Bye-bye. Oh, I just saw that. Let me become a member. So as just subscribe. So thank you very much for subscribing. Bye-bye, guys.